Hello and welcome to this tutorial on using Google Meet video conferences with DPS students. This video is brought to you by the Educational Technology and Library Services Department and DPS, and this link will get you to a quick reference guide on how to set up and use Google Meets in DPS. So the link is bit.ly/DPS Meet Guide, and that will get you to this document, which has step-by-step instructions on how to create Google Meets for use with DPS students. Also, directions on Google Meets with other DPS partners, such as parents, guardians, or external partners. And finally, there is an FAQ page in this document with lots of questions and answers around Google Meets. Let's get started and show you how to create Google Meets in DPS. So here I am in my DPS Google account. It's your account at dpsk12.net. I'm in my Google Drive here. And if I use the 3x3 app switcher over here, I can click on that, and that's where I can find the Meet application. That's a quick way to launch a Google Meet. The other way would be to go to meet.google.com in your address bar in a browser, and that will also get you to where you can begin a Google Meet. At this page, I have the option to join or start a meeting. I'm going to click that green area there, and I'm going to start a meeting. We recommend giving your meeting a nickname, or it's sometimes called a meeting code. And if you're using this with students, we recommend something simple, such as the name of your school, possibly the teacher's last name, and then maybe a grade level as the nickname for this meeting Google Meet session. If I click continue, it brings me into kind of a lobby area where I can check some settings. I've actually covered my webcam for this demonstration, this tutorial, just to reduce distractions. But normally I would be seeing a picture of myself, what the webcam is seeing, and I can check and make sure my microphone is working properly, my webcam. And again, this is kind of a lobby area, and it shows me the name that I gave my Google Meet. And if everything is looking all right with my camera, I can click Join Now. If I want to either click this button to mute myself or turn off the camera, I can also do that before I join the Google Meet session. I'm going to go ahead and click Join Now, and that brings me into the Google Meet. Again, it shows me the nickname I gave. It also shows me some more detail down here below with an actual address, specific unique address for this Google Meet, and also some information for dial-in options. It is possible for folks outside of DPS or on a phone to dial into a number using this PIN code and join the Meet by audio only. I'm going to click the X there, and now I'm in the Meet. Again, I have chosen to come in with my camera off. If I click the button down here to turn the camera on, I could see myself. I've covered my camera with a piece of paper for this demonstration. I'm going to keep my camera off just so you can kind of realize that this is the teacher view. And I want to show you what it looks like from a student view as well. So I'm going to go to another window in my browser here where I'm logged in as a student. So here I am in the students Google Drive. Again, I'm going to go up to the 3x3 Google Apps switcher here, go to Meet, and here is the student side of Google Meet. And students only have an option to join an existing Meet that a teacher has created. They cannot create their own Meets and invite friends, for example. So they only have the option to use a meeting code, also called a nickname. So here is where you would want to somehow provide the meeting code or the nickname that you're using to your students. Again, keep it fairly memorable, and you can reuse this nickname over and over again with students every day, for example, when you're having class meetings on Google Meet. So If the student clicks continue, they will also kind of get into a lobby area. We also have an extension pushed out to students called waiting rooms. So the view might be a little bit different for students. They might see a black screen saying, "You're in the waiting room. Please wait for your teacher to begin the meet." Since, again, as the teacher, I already began it, the student can now check their microphone settings, camera settings, and join the meet. I'm going to mute the student here and click Join Now. And now the student is seeing me. Here I am in the middle, and they are seeing a small picture of themselves up here in the corner. Again, my camera's covered. And as more students come into the meeting, they would show up in separate video windows here. Both teachers and staff have an extension installed in Meets, which is this little grid up here. It's called the grid view. And if I turn it on as a student, it should show kind of both of our windows side by side. So here I am as the teacher, and here is the student over on the right, the student's video feed. Students can turn that off if that gets confusing, and revert back to the normal video view. I'm going to, again, switch back to my teacher view here. So right now I'm viewing the student's video camera, which is covered up. I can turn on my grid view. Grid view has several options that you can explore, including some advanced settings that you can get into. And again, here we are side by side, teacher and the first student to come into the room. As more participants or students enter, the screens get smaller and smaller, and you kind of get a tiled view across the screen. Let me just go over some of the controls in Google Meet. In addition to the grid view extension controls, next to that, I can see who the participants are in the Meet as a list over here on the right. I can see that there are currently 2 people, including myself, in the Meet, and the student here. Next to the student's name, there's a small little down arrow, and I have the option to control some pieces of what the student is doing. I can pin that screen so it stays displayed regardless of what else is going on. I muted the student. If the student was not muted, I could force mute the student's microphone if there was a lot of background noise. I recommend that you kind of set those norms with students in your classroom, that they come into your virtual Meet classroom muted. I could also hide the participant from my grid view. I don't believe that would also hide it from others. And the last option is to actually remove somebody from the meeting. Since I am the leader of the Google Meet session, I can actually click this and remove someone or kind of force quit them from the Google Meet. Up here next to people, if I quit out of that, there's also a chat option within Google Meets. This is to allow text only messages to be sent back and forth among all participants. There are no private messages. Students cannot private message each other. Whoever types within this window, everyone can see those messages pop up. So just so that you are aware of that option is available to all students, but everybody sees those messages. If the chat window is minimized and is not currently open, if somebody does type into the chat, say a student, a message will pop up in the lower right-hand corner showing what they typed and also who typed that. It can be a very useful feature within a Google Meet classroom, so to speak, to engage participants and have them give some feedback by text only. So it's not a lot of actual voices in the room, but it allows for interaction. But that is something that you'll need to set some norms about, because as a teacher, there's no way to turn that off. And if students choose to type in there, it will be visible and will show up. It shows the time up here, and it also shows my video, and just a quick little indication if I have muted myself or not. The controls at the bottom of the screen are the mute controls to turn the microphone on or off. Over here on the right is to turn the camera on or off. And the center, button would be like hanging up a phone and basically exiting the call. Over on the left, if I expand this option over here, it shows what nickname I gave to the Google Meet. And just a caveat, nicknames can only be used by DPS accounts. So if you're using Google Meets to interact with parents, and this is detailed in the Google Meet guide that I gave you the link to initially, somebody outside of a DPS Google account would not be able to use this nickname to join the Meet. They would have to be given this longer link down below in order to access the Meet. So if you're making Google Meets, again, follow the steps on the Google Meet guide that I showed you initially for external partners. Other options at the bottom are captions. If I turn on captions for myself only, it will change what I'm speaking to into visible text on the screen. So students can do that on their own as they wish, if that would be a support that they would like, to be able to actually see the text of what's being spoken. If I turn that on, and again, I need to unmute my microphone, then as I talk, those captions should be showing. Sometimes with grid view, that isn't always visible. So if I turn grid view off, here we go, the captions will appear. And again, these are only visible for me because I turned captioning on. Turn that off again and go back to our grid view. Another very useful feature in Google Meets is the present feature. Often as a teacher, I would like to show my students another screen to present them with some information or something to think about. I have three options here. I can show my entire screen, which means I could show any other program I might have running on my laptop. It doesn't have to be my Chrome browser, for example. I can show them another window I have going on my computer, or I can choose another Chrome tab. This is a great option. For example, if you wanted to show your students a quick video, choose this last Chrome tab option. That really optimizes the video and the audio quality for playback of a video. If I choose that, I get a list to pick which of my Chrome tabs I would like to show my students. And again, I have an option to share the audio of that as well. If I did choose to present, for example, a window, it will ask me, okay, which window that I see would you like to present? I can choose that one. And then let's say I switch to this window to show my Google Guide. So at the bottom, I get a prompt saying, Meet is sharing a window. I'm going to switch over to my student view real quick so you can see now as a student what that looks like. So here I am as a student, the teacher is presenting, this is what I see. This is a fairly small, kind of detailed presentation. If it is difficult to see, and again, the video is also showing of the teacher over here, but if students are having a hard time, they can choose this little thumbtack pin, and if they click that, it focuses on the presented tab and makes that a little bit easier to see and a little bit larger. So again, as a student, I can pin and unpin the presented view to make that a little bit larger and see it more easily. I'll switch back to my teacher view now. And since I went to that tab that I wanted to show, that's what I'm seeing. I need to remember to go back to the Meet itself, and then I can stop presenting. And now we're just back in the live video conference. The last piece in Google Meets of features are these three dots way in the bottom right over here. If I click there, I have a few options that are similar to some other things. Here are captions. I can choose to show this kind of full screen. There are some layout options within Google Meet itself that change how things are displayed. It does have a tiled view, but the most that the tiled view can display at once is 16 screens. So if you have more than 16 participants or students in your Google Meet, I would probably stick with the Google Grid View extension in the upper right and not bother with tiled. The other feature in the three dots menu is record meeting up here at the top. Teachers can choose to record a meeting and turn that on. It does abide by the media consent policies in Denver Public Schools, but it's probably a good idea to notify your students that you are recording a Google Meet. It records everything, video and audio, and all of that is actually saved to your DPS Google Drive as a video file. So you could, for example, record a session you had with students, and if for some students, for some reason could not attend that session live, you could send that recording to them so they could play that and receive the content that way. You might want to check with your building administrator just on to make sure what the policies and guidelines are for recording students, because with remote learning, we are kind of taking the classroom into their home, so to speak. So there are some equity considerations and different cultural considerations to consider there. Those are the main things I wanted to go over in this tutorial. Again, remember to go to this short link to actually see the DPS Meet guide with step-by-step instructions and frequently asked questions on that guide about using Google Meets in DPS with students. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.